get news from the municipality on these thousands of dead fish found at Isipingo lagoon. I'm joined by Ednick Msweli. He's head of water and sanitation at the Ethekwini Municipality. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us. So first of all, what I want to ask you is what the residents and the fishermen are saying is that this issue has been exacerbated with the Isipingo pump station by the April floods. But this is not the first time there's been a sewage spill in this area. They're saying as far back as 2016. So my question to you is, why is this an ongoing problem? Why has it not been dealt with?
Good evening, and good evening to the listeners. I think let's start by acknowledging that the effects of the storm disaster in April has been really overwhelming. I guess not only for us, but certainly for the city, our city, and maybe the surrounding municipalities as well. We have dealt with that as best and as quickly as we could, but it's really overwhelming. There is a war room that meets every twice a week, and here we go through the lists of installations, like these installations that we are talking about, that are affected and need to be repaired. And I'll tell you that that list is very long. Mm-hmm. So what we are then doing for now is trying to get at least as many of those pump stations working as possible, because there are still some that are not working. So in this particular instance, you are correct that we have some of the pumps in the pump station that are old. So in fact, there are 3 pumps in the particular pump station. So one of them is quite old, so it needed to be changed anyway. And that those plans were underway to have that particular pump replaced with a newer one. But as part of dealing with the storm disaster, there's one pump in this particular pump station, one of the 3, that has failed now and led to the problem that we are dealing with, which had been fixed with the assistance of SAP. And we must appreciate SAP. They came on board, and Toyota's, many other industries came on board to assist us. So SAP assisted us with this one. While we were working in other pump stations in other areas, they managed to get this one fixed. And we put it back on around the 17th of June. Right. So it's been working from the 17th of June until about now, 1st of August. So we thought this one was working and there was no pollution during that period. I think everybody would agree with that. Until then, this failure again now on the 1st of June, and that's what brings us where we are now. Yeah.
All right, so my understanding then is when the pump station fails, then the sewage essentially spills into the lagoon. And is that what's killed the fish?
That's correct, yeah. Under normal circumstances, if we were not as overwhelmed as we are, because there are 3 pumps, all 3 pumps would have been working. So even if one gives up, you'd have had another pump to kick in.
Sure. I mean, I appreciate that it's been absolutely rough after April. But the fact that there's a history of these problems, why were they not fixed back in 2016? Is it because there was a lack of funds, a lack of expertise, a lack of interest?
I would say it's a lack of funds, and that's a problem that the city is still dealing with up to today. The budgeting processes for the financial year that we were in happened prior to the storm. And even at that stage, we were, as a Department of Water and Sanitation within the municipality, we were submitting requirements for investment in infrastructure to prevent situations such as this happening, where you don't have all your infrastructure working the way it should. What we submitted and what the city can afford is 2 different things. So
which I suppose is why
the will to do is there, but certainly the affordability is an issue.
So which is why we see private sector, who you thanked, SAB and Toyota, coming in to help you. Quick questions now. What happens if someone eats one of these dead fish? Because Destin was telling us that while you've put out a notice saying, please don't eat these dead fish, some people are desperate and they're trying to get to them. So what happens if they eat one of these fish? I mean, could it kill them?
I think Destin he got there just before 9. I was also on site from about 8:30. He must have got there just after I left. And our teams were there when I was there, trying to remove as much of the dead fish as possible. So there shouldn't be any left now, if there is still any, at the pace they were going in the morning. But I can't emphasize more that nobody must eat those fishes, because we don't really know what we're dealing with in terms of the substances that are in them, because all of this pollution comes from the industries that are around that area. So it depends then what would have gone into what we are seeing. So how poisonous that is.
That's an interesting point you raise. I wonder if you could explain to me. My understanding was that it was sewage, effluent waste from toilets. You're suggesting it might be other kinds of waste, so waste from chemical plants as well, that could actually be in that lagoon. Talk to me about what you're considering might actually be in that lagoon.
Well, we think most of it, if based on the pump station that we are talking about, the one that is in Isipingo, we think most of it comes from the industries that are nearby there. Yeah, so it might be mixed with some domestic effluent, but there's certainly a large part of it that comes from the industries.
So one of the fishermen that Dessen spoke to raised a real concern that if that chemical mix, whatever it contains, and as you say, you're not completely sure, so you don't know quite how dangerous these dead fish might be to eat, but they're really concerned that that will reach the ocean. Can you say for certain that you have blocked that lagoon water from reaching the ocean? Are you able to?
I wouldn't say it's completely blocked, but what we were wishing for and what we would like to see happening is some of the water from the ocean flowing more into the lagoon, just so that you can have some dilution happening as well. So we actually would like some water flowing in the other direction, flowing into the direction of the lagoon. I didn't see a lot of flow going towards the sea. I don't think even if it is, it's not large volumes. It will be diluted. I don't think there'll be much impact in the sea at all.
So talk to me about the lagoon itself. When is it going to be reopened? Are you confident that the what caused the death of the fish, that has been curtailed and dealt with now?
We've got our team within the municipality that does pollution monitoring. So they're going to be sampling there on a daily basis, just to test the quality of the water in that lagoon. So it will be only when they give clearance that we would then give the clearance that the lagoon can be opened. So unfortunately, I think we just have to monitor for some time. Even after the fish stop dying, if there's any more still happening, we just need everything to clear, and then our guys will give the clearance to say we can now start fishing, for example.
How do you feel when you see these images of the dead fish and know that it's polluting a very beautiful part of our coastline, that you're not quite sure what toxic mix is in that lagoon? How do you feel when you see that?
It was very heartbreaking in the morning when I was there and I saw fish laying there. I also wish that what I was seeing was not real. But it's one of those things, that when the pump fails, it doesn't tell you it's going to fail. I wish we could avoid that, and I wish we didn't have the storm disaster that we have. It just says to us that the scale of what we are dealing with in terms of this disaster that we are dealing with, it's just big. Because from when I left from there, I went to see another place somewhere else, even today, where there are similar challenges. And as much as we are making progress, we are fixing, but there's just so much to fix that it really is something unheard of that we've not seen before.
All right, well, thank you very much for updating us, even though the news is fairly grim. Ednick Msweli telling us that they don't have a date on when Isipingo Lagoon will be cleaned up. They're not too sure exactly what toxic mix of chemicals, and it's a lot of chemicals that was able to move into the lagoon when the pump station at Isipingo failed. They're fairly sure they've cleaned up all the dead fish, but there really is a lot of variable issues. And he also says that the fact that this has been a problem since 2016, which of course predates those floods in April, is that they've never had enough money to fix these pump stations effectively and permanently. This is an ongoing story, and we will keep you updated on this, because it's our beautiful environment that is paying the price for these problems.